Hey y'all, so we're still looking back at I Fear No Evil. And I wanted to give you the reference that I was talking about yesterday with David encouraging himself in the Lord. That is 1 Samuel chapter 30, and we can look at verse 6. You can read that whole chapter of 1 Samuel 30, but there had been a battle. The enemy king came in and burned the village, took the wives and children. So David and his men came down and they found it was burned. Their wives and sons and daughters were taken captive. David and the men with him lifted up their voices and they wept until they had no more strength to weep. David's wives had been taken captive, and David was greatly distressed, for the men spoke of stoning him because of the souls of them all were bitterly grieved, each man for his own sons and daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. See, it was personal for David. David just didn't encourage himself in a God. David didn't go away and do something to make him feel better. He encouraged himself, and actually the Amplified says, David encouraged and strengthened himself in the Lord his God. The Lord his God. And actually here, this Lord would have been the name of God that we don't truly even know the correct pronunciation to today, because it was so sacred to the Hebrew children, to the Israelites, that they honored it with such reverence that they did not even speak it aloud. So this is the Lord his God. The bottom line is because he knew his shepherd, he knew his God, and how many times he had seen him come through before. David and Goliath, how many battles he had seen. And not only that, what had he been feeding on, or what had been poured into him? You go back all the way to Abraham and the beginning of his people, his Hebrew people, that heritage, and then the signs and wonders of God bringing forth the people of Israel out of the Exodus, and then keeping them for 40 years, and then sending them into the promised land. I mean, David knew his God. Do you know your shepherd? Do you know who he is? Do you know not only what he's capable of, but what he wants to do for you? Like we talked about on Sundays, getting ready for church, and that Hebrews 10:23, that he who promised is faithful. He who promised is reliable, sure, and faithful to his word. Romans, now this is my jam right here. Romans 4. Abraham. This is about Abraham believing God in the midst of what was an impossible circumstance, that Sarah was barren and Abraham was past the age of childbearing years, that their bodies could physically not have children. But Abraham believed the promise of God. It says, no unbelief or distrust made him waver, doubtingly questioned concerning the promise of God. But he grew strong and was empowered by faith as he gave praise and glory to God, fully satisfied and assured that God was able and mighty to keep his word and to do what he had promised. The King James says, he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was also able to perform it. So if God has given us promise, then he is faithful and able to perform it. And so we base our emotions, our beliefs, on what? Do we base it on a fear or emotion, apprehension, thinking that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat? Or do we call those emotions into line? Our emotions are in ourselves, our soul. And as I loved finding out through this Psalm 23 that he restores my soul, myself, my life, that my emotions, the whole of me, my spirit, my soul, and my physical body have been born again, have been born new, have been restored, set in right standing. And so God did not just restore my spirit man when I submitted my life to the Lordship of Jesus Christ. Myself, my soul is restored as well. So my emotions have been redeemed. I can control my emotions. I can not walk in fear. I can not walk in hate. I can walk in love with people that really don't deserve right? Who deserves it? But I can walk in love with people who make it very difficult to love them. I can do it not in my own strength, but because He has restored and redeemed me. I do want to look at, tomorrow we'll pick up into our emotions and get into that. But anyway, who is your shepherd? And that's where we're in today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.